Welcome back to Wawa Crafting, the channel where we can learn and grow and craft together. Today we're going to make a simple envelope. I'm just quickly showing you how to make a book page envelope. Fold the bottom part of the book page upward, leaving a little space for the flap. Fold that down, and then you can decorate it however you would like to. The sides can be sewn together, it can be glued shut, it can be closed with washi tape. I'm just finishing off the edges there with a slanted punch, not a corner rounder. You can do it however you want if you don't have a punch. And there you have it. Just remember the text will be upside down, the part that you're folding up. Once you decorate it, it will not even be noticeable. Once you do stamping, some inking, putting little collage elements on top, or you can, if you so wish, cover it completely with another piece of paper, whether a DigiKit or some other paper that you might have. Also, some gift wrap is also a good one to use. That way you can decorate it. In the meantime, for our journal, you can look at gathering some junk envelopes. I'm showing you the different types I have. I collected, don't get that many. I found a few tiny little envelopes and these tiny cards in my stash. Really gorgeous, and I would love to use some of those. Just showing you a different way to use. You can literally use anything to decorate and make your junk journal functional. Looking at some envelopes that I might be using. That is like a little brown paper bag, a money or a coin envelope. And I'm putting the others to one side. Different colors of browns, which all still fit in perfectly with our color scheme and vintage theme. Today's session will be simple. It's not a long one. It's quite short. We will be using a few different techniques. Remember, all the techniques that I show you, you can use in any of your other paper crafts. We will be decorating each one of these little envelopes differently. Now, first of all, I'm going to glue shut the book page envelope, just so that that can dry so long. Remember, book pages are quite flimsy. You can, if you want to, just fold it like I had it without gluing it down. And on the inside, you can add a plain paper like white or cream or a light beige color and use that as a journal spot. You don't have to turn it into an envelope. This case, I did turn it into an envelope. Right, so let's start. Looking at that beautiful paper that I got in my stash, a lovely butterfly on there, stamped. It's yellow paper, that butter cardstock that I used before. It's the same thing, trying and battling to get that punch to go in. The paper are quite wrinkled, so it doesn't fit in, and sorry, I'm a little bit out of frame there, but you can see I am really putting up a mighty fight to get it fitting into the punch. Still not working, really hard. It's getting stuck a little bit, but I'm trying. So using the fingernail, just flatten out the edge there, and hopefully now it will fit into the punch. And would I be able then to punch it out? And let's see if it works. There we go. It's still stuck. Remember, I said the punch, it's not the punch. Poor punch is doing its job. It's just because the paper was wrinkled that it was so difficult. Once you color your coffee dyed your paper, you can iron it out or put it underneath some heavy books just to try and flatten it out. I never do, and because this is cardstock, it was a bit thicker. So I just trimmed the end where it did not cut it so nicely. Looking which envelope would I start, I knew that one will be a bit big, however I did try because I would have loved it on there. Using the biggest of the 4 envelopes, and I am going to glue it down on there. Getting our trusty bits and bobs tray so that we can get a few little labels out. Wouldn't be collaging if I'm not using any labels, right? Love those, and I spent quite a few hours to make these bits and bobs. And know this, what is in the tray is not all that I have. That's why I'm spending hours. Gluing that down. Getting some ink. Walnut stain by the looks of it. Just bringing in that darker ink color of the butterfly and just inking the edges there. Just fiddling to find something else. Gluing the butterfly down. And then we will add the other little bits and bobs to it. Few little labels. You can use whatever you have. You can do stamping directly on it, or you can leave the butterfly as it is without adding any collage pieces. But remember, it always looks better if you add that little extra something on the collage. Looking for another little label. And there we go. Having some ready-made that is readily available makes it easier, showing you where the butter color is shining through, because there's a little spot where there's no coffee on there. I've been talking about coffee dyed paper for quite a while now. Coffee dyed paper is just literally dyeing any and each type of paper, doilies, newspaper. Newspaper will be very fragile when it's wet. Magazine pages, copy paper, any of those, even cardstock, music sheets, any of that, with coffee, and let it to dry. You can dry it in the oven, or you can put it between other paper to just soak up the excess moisture, or you can let it dry naturally. I inked the ends of that envelope, and now I'm decorating the back, looking for something in there. Not sure what I'm looking for, but just something to add to the collage on the flap. Deciding on the spots for that. Those little labels are either from Digi and SVG Designs for You, or Love Junk Journals, aka Tracy Fox. In a coming video, I will be showing you some of my very own number labels. There we go, something in the front, something at the back. You can leave it at that. If you want to move your envelope around, in other words, it's not glued down, it's always a good idea to then decorate the back as well. This little paper bag, it's a coin envelope, but it has got that sound of a paper bag. Then I'm just getting the middle of that little envelope, punching it in, just showing you there are little notches on 3 sides. so that you can see where it's punching, the start of the circle, and then the middle in front, which is quite useful, and it does help. Some of my less fancier punches doesn't have those notches in, and I have then just marked it for myself with a Sharpie pen. Inking that little notch just so that everybody can see it is inked, and it shows that there will be something in there. We will still make some tags or little goodies to go in there. Now this is also the same type of format of a library pocket, which we will still be making. Inking the edges right around, making sure that everywhere it's inked. Again, that little notch, putting in some scrap paper, making sure that I can get the ends of that without staining the flap. So this is envelope number 2, and I'm doing a simple paper collage with some scrapbook pages of all kinds of different colors. Some beige, some pink, I know, some brown, just different tone on tone colors so that we get that richness of the contrast. There goes the pink. And again, it doesn't have to be a very long piece. Just looking for something else that I want to put down first, and then going to put down the pink on top. As I wanted the pink to stand out a little bit more. Looking for something, don't know quite yet what I want to add there. Can't really make up my mind. And then I decided, let's go for the trusty stamps. Needing something else. I'm searching for something and I just can't lay my hands on it. Finally made up my mind, and then I'm going to reach for the Distress Oxide in antique linen and just ink that whole little strip, as I wanted a little bit more of that yellow. No, it's not a bright yellow, it's more like a cream color. Gluing that piece down. And now I feel satisfied that we have the right color scheme there. Enough interest with different colors of paper. So now it looks complete, and I'm looking as to where I want the little stamp to go. Again, that is Stampers Anonymous, Tiny Toadstools from Tim Holtz. I will link the set again for you at the bottom in the description box. Adding a little circular label there, just to break all those straight lines. Stamping up the stamp in what looks like walnut stain. Looking for another little label, something to add to the collage. Yes, these little labels does take a bit of time to cut out, but it is so worth it. And there is number 2 done. Now number 3, and I'm going to go for that little coin envelope that is really more orangey than the other browns. Not your typical craft brown color, but still fitting in nicely. So let's stamp it up. I'm going to stamp directly onto that little envelope. And that is done in ground espresso. Really a dark brown color. There we go. Taking my trusty little rusty hinge, the mini Distress inks, and inking the edges just to harmonize with the color of the envelope. Rusty hinge is like a more orangey brown color, and just as the name implies, that rusty look. Really, really beautiful. One of my favorites as well. I wanted to use that, and then I changed my mind after I realized I punched the little notch skew, but we can fix it. So I take the bigger 1 3/4 inch punch and punch it out. This time it's sorted. I'm bending that over, then deciding to just slip the piece of scrap paper in so I can actually ink those edges as well. Just adding a little bit more on the sides, doing the bottom as well. And then the last side of the front. And there we almost have envelope number 3 done. Just folding the flap over and inking the top there as well. As we still don't know where we're going to use it, that's why I decided to do it like that. Now number 4. What can we do there? You can see I'm making this up as I go. No pre-thought going into it. Just very instinctively doing what feels right. I'm showing you that you can attach an envelope like that to a belly band. You can attach it permanently, or it can be attached with something like a paper clip or a little clip or even a little ribbon. using Distress Oxide, that little text stamp, and I am deciding with a stamp block or a stamping block, stamping on the envelope, making sure I alternate where the stamp is on the little envelope, and I'm doing the complete face of the envelope. There you can see the text. Opening the flap, and I'm continuing with that, stamping on the flap on the back as well, just giving some interest on the envelope, jumping envelope that is, as I'm working right there on the edge of my work table. There we go, loving it quite like that. Really nice with the antique linen on the little brown paper envelope. Deciding what I'm going to look for. Just grabbed a few things there so that I have some options. Rummaging, trying to find something. Needing to get space. Deciding on my design elements there. What am I going to include in the collage? Decided that one needs to go there, so there's no turning back. I'm gluing that one down, and I will build the collage around that. That little label says duplicate. Also one of Tim's stamp sets. That I stamped and then cut out. Right. That one says shipped, and it's in this arched shape, which I then added to the flap of the envelope. Getting some really tiny little labels. Still rummaging, not sure what I want there. Once you're spoiled for choice, I do tend to overthink what should come where. That looks like Black Suit archival ink. Making sure we get a good impression there, as I'm not using a stamping block. I beg your pardon. At least the coffee's going better. It's not as bad as it was about 3 weeks back. Adding some of those little collage elements with glue. That tiny little stamp is the one that says figure 1, 2, 3, and 4. Really quite effective. Tiny but a mighty little stamp. It really gives a good impression and rounds off your work nicely. And then that circular stamp, which is specimen with some tiny space for writing. You could add an extra number on there or something handwritten. Using that black suit again and going to stamp a part of that stamp, almost had it upside down, inking it up again and adding the stamp there. Use that bit of scrap paper so that I do not stamp on the mushroom. So I use that book page as a mask. Just putting all those little bitties back in the tray. So that's envelope number 4. Showing you can put something inside, you can hide your journaling, showing off envelope number 3, or that was number 3, number 4. That little red label is picking up the pink and the red in there quite nicely. And now the red label is actually looking more pink. And that rounded label also has got a bit of red in it. So it ties the elements nicely together. And then that butterfly, not quite our theme, but it will still work as it is vintage. Also, it will give a little bit of added interest so that it's not so monotonous with all the mushrooms. Though I love mushrooms. And it gives this antiquarian look to the pages. Right, adding another little stamp there as I thought it still needed something more there. So there's our 4 little envelopes. Now for that book page envelope. Very flimsy, very thin. Remember, vintage book pages are quite brittle in some cases and very thin. Don't like the color, so I'm inking with antique linen in Distress Oxide, just so that it's got a more even color overall. Now doing that same inking on the front. Another stamp. Sorry, the light are really shining or reflecting on the shiny surfaces. That was stamped in Vintage Photo. Adding a little stamp there. Looking to see what else is there that I would rather want to use. And then I'm using this vintage one from Netherlands, Nederland. It still says Gulden, which was the previous money used before they changed over to euros. Adding some lovely labels again, and by now you would know that it's either from Love Junk Journals, Tracy Fox's labels, or Digi and SVG Designs for You. Adding that little round stamp again. Little text in black. Just so that it looks like an addressed envelope. Going to ink the edges, going to be a little bit difficult, tricky, as remember book pages are quite flimsy and it's really not so easy to ink it, so be careful. It can easily tear if you are working too harsh with it. Trying to get a way to hold it so that I can actually ink the edges. Doing the edge on top of the scrap paper, inking a little bit more than I would have liked to, but it's not a train smash. Doing both sides, inside and out, for in case we want to turn it over in the journal. And there we have it. All 5 of those are done. I'm just putting those little stamps back in the little tray because those things can fly everywhere. And there we have it. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you learned something and that you can actually I beg your pardon, try these out and then design your own little envelopes, whether for card making or for your junk journal. If you like this, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Do take care, and I will see you soon again when we are back with the next.